is up, guys? It is time for yet another tier list video. I'm your host, BC King, and as you guys know, I love Super Mario Galaxy. And I especially love a lot of the bosses in both Galaxy games. But for this tier list, we're only focusing on the first Galaxy game. So we're ranking every single boss from Mario Galaxy 1. Not really based on difficulty. That is one of the factors. We're not going like easiest to hardest. It's just which ones I think are the most fun to fight, which ones I think are the most fun to go back and fight after beating the game, which ones I think are the most iconic. So with that said, here we go. Also, I changed the colors to the right one, so there we go. Anyway, first up we have Dino Piranha, which is pretty much the first boss you're gonna fight in Mario Galaxy 1. Now this one I would put at a very solid C tier. It's kind of a fun boss, you know, you have to whack its tail back in its face. It's got a cool little theme to it. It's a cute little baby piranha looking thing, but it's not really that challenging, but it's not meant to be, because, you know, they don't want to throw a challenging boss at you for your first boss in the game. But I think it's solid, you know, not the best boss in the game, but it does its job. It's a very solid one at that, and it's good for what it is. So very solid C tier. Next up we have King Kaliente, which is pretty much the second boss you'll fight if you're going in order in the Good A Galaxy. Now, I really like King Kaliente. He's not the most challenging, per se. I do like how he's this giant, like, octopus just in this lava on the opposite side of one of the planets. But pretty much all you do is just hit the things, or hit the coconuts back at him, and he loses his crown, and then you have to keep whacking him. Now, the final phase can be a little bit challenging, just a little bit, because he does spawn these little blue fire things that will come at you. And I don't think you can beat them, to my knowledge. I think they're just stuck there, like, jumping at you, unless I'm missing something. But yeah, King Kaliente, I am gonna put at a B tier. He's a really solid boss, like Dino Piranha, but I think he has more about him than Dino Piranha has that's more, appealing. And yeah, I just like his whole concept better than Dino Piranha, but he's not really that challenging. But, he's a good one, so very solid B tier. Now, this one, the Mandibug Tower, which is basically I guess a mommy or daddy Mandibug with a baby Mandibug on its back, and they both charge at you at the same time. This boss is kind of a joke. It is so incredibly easy. All you do is you jump, ground pound the baby, do it again to the parent, and you win. It's so easy, and all they do is just charge at you, which is so easy to avoid, so this one is a very solid D tier. I was going to consider F tier, but I don't hate this boss. I feel like F tier bosses would be bosses that I actively hate doing, because they're either, like, incredibly unfair, or they're, like, a one-hit and done sort of deal. But this one I feel like is just above trash, in my opinion, but it's, like, very, very low D tier for me. Speaking of bugs, we now have Bugaboom, and I really do like Bugaboom. I would honestly put Bugaboom, like, maybe at the very top of B tier. So in this fight, you use B Mario, of course. You have to fly around and ground pound Bugaboom as he's flying by. Now, he does kind of juke you out at some point, where he flies to the side like this, and you actually can't ground pound on top of him until he, like, flips back over to his you know, right side up position. But yeah, it's a very fun boss. I do like the whole, it is, you know, it's a giant Mandibug, pretty much. But I feel like the whole the whole structure of the boss fight is really fun. And, I mean, using B Mario is fun as well, so there you go. So yeah, Bugaboom, easy, like, high B tier, but there's a couple bosses that are a lot higher that are more memorable, in my opinion, than Bugaboom is. Speaking of memorable, oh man, we got Megaleg. Dude, Megaleg is, like, if you were to show this boss to, like, an old school gamer, they would say, whoa. Is this like Mario Shadow of the Colossus? Because that's what this is pretty much. It's like they put a Shadow of the Colossus robot or something in a Mario game, and it's so much fun. I love the music. I love getting to climb the giant robot and having the bullet bills, or using the bullet bills to damage him, because, like, you know, the bullet bills he sends out at you, but then you can have them follow you to then blow up his little dome covering the Grand Star. So this boss is incredibly fun. I love it so much. Easy A tier. Now again, it's not really that challenging per se, but again, I don't want to base this list just off of difficulty. I'm basing this list off of difficulty, how memorable the boss fight is, how iconic it is, and the structure of the boss fight. And I feel like Megaleg, while he's not too challenging, or not really challenging that much at all, I think if you were to, like, make a list of every Mario Galaxy 1 boss, this boss is one of the more memorable ones, because of just how you go about beating the boss. So, yeah, easy A tier for Megaleg. So I'm not sure the general consensus on Kamella. I feel like people see her as just a glorified Kamek, like, female clone or something. But honestly, I really enjoy the 2 Kamella fights in this game, or is there 3? I think there's only 2, right? There's Good A Galaxy and the Ghost Ship. So, yeah, honestly though, I enjoy Kamella's boss fight. I love when she sends out the green shell and you have to do the spin attack to send it back at her. That was always fun. The Ghost Ship fight was really fun, where you have to climb up to the mast and then get her when she goes up there. So, honestly, not the best, but I would put Kamella at, like, a very low A tier. I really did enjoy Kamella's boss fights. Nothing too challenging, nothing too, you know, mind-blowing out there, but in terms of, like, the other boss fights we have on this list so far, I think Kamella's one of the better ones, in terms of, like, you know, how fun she is to fight, and her music, and, her character's also kind of cool. I love the giant rod she has with the Power Star in it. And seeing her, when you're on the Ghost Ship one, right, you see her fly, like, from the moon to the Ghost Ship, and it's such a cool visual, so there you go. But Kamella is, like, very low A tier, but still a really fun boss fight. Now, when people see Tarantox, they think of one word: gross. Because what you have to do is, you have to use the slingshot things to propel Mario, or Luigi, if you're playing as Luigi, into Tarantox's little pimple-looking things, and when you pop them, they spew out this little, like, gross liquid. So it is kind of a gross boss fight, but honestly, it's also very fun. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the sling pods in this game, because they can be kind of hard to aim accurately. That one galaxy, what is that, the sling pod galaxy is really annoying. But, in this boss fight, they're a lot of fun to use, and I think they actually enhance the boss fight to me. So, Tarantox, I would say, is also a low A tier, with Kamella. I'd probably rather fight Kamella over Tarantox in terms of, like, excitement. But honestly, yeah, like, I think this is probably the best use that the sling pods have in this game. Because that galaxy where you're just using to traverse the galaxy is not really that fun because of how bad they are to control sometimes. But this fight, it was good. I had no trouble aiming my shots, and it can be kind of gross to pop this guy's pimples, but I mean, it's still a fun boss fight, so there you go. Easy A tier. Now we got the Beyblade boss fight, or as he's actually called, Topmaniac, who is basically a top with spikes that are flaming that go around his face, and you have to jump on him, and he goes into, like, you know, not moving mode, and you have to hit him against the electric barriers. This boss fight is really fun, but I don't think it's quite to the level of my A tier boss fights. So I would put Topmaniac probably in, like, maybe mid B tier. Honestly, I'm kind of conflicted here. I'm between, like, putting him above or below Bugaboom. I probably put him just below Bugaboom, because I feel like Bugaboom, you know, getting to use Beam Mario does enhance it a bit, versus, like, you have nothing for Topmaniac unless you know, bring a power up there, but you don't really get any for the boss fight. But it's still fun, you know? I love the whole Beyblade vibes going on here. I love how you have to beat him too, so, yeah, just not quite above Bugaboom in terms of how the boss fight's actually structured, but it's still a good boss fight, so definitely worthy of being at least in the B tier. Now we have one of the most iconic boss fights, probably not just in Galaxy 1, but in all of Galaxy, or in the entire Galaxy series, which is, Bouldergeist. I love Bouldergeist, man. First of all, he's easy A tier. Not quite S, but he's definitely A at least. I think Bouldergeist is kinda underrated, and also people think he's hard. He's really not. Like, once you learn how he moves and his patterns, he's actually not hard. And also, I just love the Bomboos. I love getting to swing the Bomboos around to hit him and hit his giant little stone hands. His theme's also really cool too. So, Yeah, I adore Bouldergeist. It was such a surprise getting to fight that when I first came to this galaxy, when I played the game for the first time, because, fun story for you guys, I actually missed this boss in my first playthrough. I did every star in the game besides this one. I don't know how I missed it, but I went back and I'm like, oh wow, I missed a very good boss fight, and I'm surprised I didn't go back to it, so, yeah, Bouldergeist is great. I love him. He's got a great feel to him, great music, great boss fights, so easy A tier for Bouldergeist. Now, Bowser Jr. is also one I'm kind of conflicted on because I think it's a very cool boss fight. It's not that challenging, but I'm not sure if I would rank it in my A tier. Because basically what you have to do is he shoots out cannonballs at you, and you have to defeat the Koopas on the platform you're on and then send the shells at him, which can be kind of tricky if you're not good with aiming in this game. But then in like phase 2, he turns the ship towards you and fires a giant cannonball or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on this one. I think it's at least still a B tier, but I'd probably put it like low B tier because I don't find him that memorable or iconic or definitely challenging. And I don't see him being of the same quality or even higher quality than like my high B tier and my A tier overall. But it's still a fun boss fight. I think there's definitely, I think there are some people who'd probably put this a bit higher, which is fair. But for me, I don't know. Like, again, fun boss fight, but I don't think the way you go about beating him and just the overall structure of the boss fight is better than my other ones here. So, yeah, I'm going to keep him in low B tier, but I do understand if you personally rank Bowser Jr. Higher in this game. Baron Brrr, I feel like, is one of the more forgettable Galaxy 1 boss. Not because he's, like, a bad boss, but because I feel like his boss fight could have been a bit more than what it was. I feel like it's still a fun boss overall, but, I don't know. I feel like more was needed substance-wise to, make this guy really stand out. So for Baron Brrr, it's definitely like a low C tier. Because basically all he does is he just like plows into the ground, and then once you spin attack him and stun him, you have to just hit him while he's not frozen. But yeah, I feel like an extra phase or just something more to his attacks would have definitely upped him a bit. But he's a bit too on the basic side for me. I do love the crown though. You know, I'm a king. I love him having a crown, but I can't ignore that his boss fight could have been a lot more than what it was. So, low C tier for Baron Brrr. Major Burrows. Now, this guy on Daredevil can be a real anxiety attack because if you are not good with timing, he can fuck you up, like, straight up. But as a boss, I think Major Burrows is a lot of fun. I would say he's like mid B tier between Kaliente and Topmaniac. Because I feel like only the last phase of his fight is truly like the memorable one and the challenging one. Because phase 3, he's like hauling ass towards you. Like he digs in the ground and then you have to really time when to ground pound and then spin attack him as he's running away from you. But besides that, nothing too mind-blowing, nothing that's gonna, like, really grind your gears or anything, or make you go like, oh, wow, that was great. But, yeah, I like Major Burrows. He's fun for what he is, so, definitely a mid-B tier. The Undergrunt Gunner is kind of a rough one, or kind of a, not rough, but a tricky one to rank, because there are, I think, 3 different versions of this guy. Because there's the Honey Hive, or no, not Honey Hive, there's Gold Leaf Galaxy, where he shoots the water bubbles. There's Toy Time, where he shoots the electric balls, and then I think in, what is it? The one water galaxy where you dive underwater, he, shoots, I think, water bubbles again. But overall, I think if we're ranking every fight in general, I think the one in Toy Time is the best one by far. But if we're ranking every single, like, all 3 or 4 of them, I think there's 3 of them, but if we're ranking all of them, I think he's still, like, not above a C tier for me. He's just a whatever kind of boss for me. There's nothing really he does that's, you know, like, all he does is just shoot, like, some type of ball at you, pretty much, and that's his only attack. So I feel like more was needed in, like, his attack department to really make him stand out, similar to Baron Brrr, as we just talked about. But yeah, he's fine, you know, could have been a bit more than what he was, but it's just a okay boss for me. So C tier for Undergrunt Gunner. This one I feel like people are gonna rank a lot higher than they need to, which is Mecha-Bowser, because basically this is not, you don't actually fight Mecha-Bowser the robot. You climb up Mecha-Bowser and basically disassemble it as you're going up and fighting enemies. But the ending is really cool where you get to like see him explode. But even with that, I wouldn't go above a C tier for Mecha-Bowser. I think if we were actually fighting the robot itself and like, you know, having this kind of kaiju sort of boss fight, would have been probably amazing. Like definitely A or S in my opinion. But for what it is, it's fine. It's not really hard to climb up it, and it's not hard to like beat the enemies. That one section where you have the Kamix and the fireball shooting at you on the conveyor belt, that could be kind of challenging, I guess. But in an overall sense, it's not really as hard as people make it out to be sometimes, I guess. And it's also not... I think people rank it high based on the fact that it's like supposed to be Mecha-Bowser. Like it's a robot mechanical version of Bowser, which is a cool idea, but like, you know, I think it's praised a bit too much than it's praised a bit more than it needs to be, in my opinion. People love it too much, so I wouldn't go above C tier personally for Mecha-Bowser. What I will go above C tier though is for this guy, Kingfin. There is one reason, one big giant reason why this guy is easy S tier. Because they did the impossible. They made a water boss fight excellent. Because if you've played the other 3D Mario games, you know that normally any boss that takes place like underwater, like the eel from Mario Sunshine, or just any boss on the water in general, typically sucks. Like, it is usually a terrible boss fight. It's clunky to control. But this one, man, oh my god. I do not know how they did it, but they completely nailed an underwater boss fight. And the big reason why is because they give you Koopa shells to not only throw at him to damage him, but also ride around in the water, which makes the water moving so smooth. So for that reason alone, definitely S tier. One of the best bosses, not just in Galaxy 1, but in both Galaxy games. I feel like Kingfin was completely nailed down to the finest details, and they, again, did the impossible. They made an underwater boss fight great and fun to do, which is, at that time, kind of unheard of for Mario games. So, yeah, easy S tier for Kingfin. Fiery Dino Piranha. Now, this guy I was very close to putting maybe an S tier, because he can be really challenging. Like, he does have the same patterns overall as OG Dino Piranha, but of course he's on fire, so he leaves a fire trail behind him as he's running. And also his tail will also light up, so it's hard to like time when to hit his tail back without getting burned. But it's cool because of that, because it actually makes it a lot more challenging, which is, you know, a little bit lacking overall when it comes to Galaxy 1's bosses, and I guess Galaxy 2's, which we'll get to in a future tier list. Excuse me. But I am going to put this guy at like maybe mid-A tier. I was doing some thinking, and while I think he is very challenging, I feel like Bouldergeist and Megaleg for me are more memorable and more, you know, synonymous with Mario Galaxy in terms of boss fights. But this guy, again, can be, like, if you're a first-time player and you're fighting Fiery Dino Piranha, he can be really, really challenging. So I gotta give him that. So, yeah, easy A tier for Fiery Dino Piranha. And now we end with Bowser, the king of the Koopas himself. Now, there are a lot of people who have made the claim that this is maybe the best 3D Mario final boss fight. And I don't know if I agree with that. I do love this boss fight. But I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. I think the music really does sell it, because the track that plays during this entire boss fight is amazing. The da 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 da. It's so good. So even though I don't think he might be the best 3D Mario like final Bowser fight, he is still an easy S. I would say just above Kingfin, because again, it's not that challenging. nothing's too mind-blowing, but in terms of, you know, leaving a lasting impact as you reach the end of the game finally, and you're, like, reminiscing on the journey, I feel like that's what they really nailed with this final boss, because, you know, you're going on, like, 3 different planets, and you got that final planet where you're, like, in the middle of the giant sun, and then you, see him fall into the lava of the sun, when you finally beat him. And just, all the visuals pretty much really do sell this boss fight to me. So yeah, I think he is maybe the best boss of Mario Galaxy 1, but I don't know if I agree with people that he is the best 3D Mario boss fight overall, or I guess final Bowser fight in that case. But still easy S tier, so there you go. And with that, we're done. I have ranked every Mario Galaxy 1 boss, so let me know in the comments what you guys thought and what you would change, and I guess I will see you guys in the next tier list video, but until then, bye!